What if I told you that some surgical patients get better by surgery that was never actually performed? No incisions, no real changes internally, fake surgery, and yet they get better. What if I told you that some Parkinson's patients lose their tremors and have better cognition if they get a sugar pill rather than a real drug? Today's subject in Great Stories in Bioethics, my personal YouTube channel, is about the ethics of placebos, mind-body interaction that they involve. It's a great topic, and it's a story in my own life of how I kind of switched my views on the ethics of giving placebos. What is a placebo? It's from a Latin phrase, to please. It's always either an inert substance or a pretend surgery, a pretend drug. It has a power based on the patient's belief that it's the real thing. Now, one of the most amazing studies about placebos happened in 2002 for a condition called osteoarthritis, where patients were divided into three groups. One of them had the typical surgery for osteoarthritis, pretty radical scraping out, reconstruction. The second group had a very minimal surgery, and the third group had no surgery at all. The surgeons in this study were clever. They put a kind of platform in front of the student like a tray. They actually did make an incision and gave a little bit of local anesthesia for all the people. But in the sham surgery, they did nothing at all. Now, here's the amazing thing. 6 months later, there was no difference in improved functionality and pain in the three groups. In other words, the people who had the surgery felt just as well as the people who had no surgery at all. So you can see the glass is half full or half empty there, but the amazing thing is that the people who had no surgery actually improved. So was that deeply deceptive or ethically brilliant? That's the question that going forward. In another study about Parkinson's disease, they again gave one group a standard drug that reduced tremors and another group no drug at all, just a sugar pill. And they actually measured release of dopamine in both groups. And amazingly, the group that got the sugar pill actually had dopamine release, and actually their tremors stopped and they functioned better. So what's going on here? It would appear that belief and expectation can actually change brain chemistry. Now, for a while, people thought this wasn't real, but I think the evidence is just overwhelming that placebos do actually do something in the body. How that mind-body interaction works is a great mystery. Going back to Descartes, its effect is undeniable. Let me give you another study in psychology. In this study, psychologists gave subjects two different drinks and had them do a mental test afterwards. One of them was a high-priced, they were told it was a high-priced drink, and the other group was told it was a cheap drink. The people who got the high-priced drink, or what they thought was the high-priced drink, did much better on the cognitive test than people who got the cheap drink. Go figure. Expectations matter a lot. So, ethicists like Kant would see this as deeply deceptive and wrong. You should never lie to patients. And he would also say that this undermines trust in medicine and undermines the doctor-patient relationship. And for Kant, it's just wrong in a whole bunch of ways. And I used to think that was true until a friend of mine, the late Howard Brody, a unusual character who was an MD and who got a PhD in philosophy from Michigan State, he wrote his doctoral dissertation on the placebo effect and its interesting mind-body issues and its ethics. Reading Brody, who was one of the founders of bioethics, really kind of turned me around on this, because he basically argued that it was the power of the healing context that the doctor was using with the placebo to do something good. I mean, just suppose that instead of giving, after dental surgery, Percocet, you're getting a Percocet look-alike that actually was nothing and the patient had the same healing and relief of pain, that would be a good thing. Less possibility of addiction. Power of expectation is also seen in something called the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is where patients expect harm, and even if they're given a sugar pill, they experience harm. So, for example, if a doctor says, I want to give you this pill for your fatigue, but you may get nausea and headaches, people get nausea and headaches. So this really questions how much you want to inform people about the possible side effects. I know I'm very suggestible. If you told me the drug, like extra statin drugs, might create muscle aches, I might start experiencing muscle aches. It's one of the reasons I don't want to do pre-symptomatic genetic testing, because if you told me I had a high prevalence of developing stomach cancer, every time I had a pain, I would worry about stomach cancer. So, but again, expectations in the context of the doctor-patient relationship, the healing context, can be very powerful. Finally, there's a kind of compromise here. That is open label placebo trials. So amazingly, if patients are told that they're in a trial and that half the people are going to get experimental drug and the other are going to get a placebo, they consent, and the people who get the placebo do better just because of the belief that they may be getting the real pill. And they've actually consented to all this. So that again seems to be an ethical workaround to the criticism that is deceptive. And it also seems to enable the power of the expectation. And when you kind of step back and think about placebos, a lot of people have suggested over the years that various mind techniques, whether it's Buddhism or power of positive thinking or whatever, can heal you, can make you better. And I think placebos just kind of tap into this. So I do not think they're inherently unethical. Some leaders think that placebos should actually be part of the tools that a compassionate doctor uses on a case-by-case basis to heal people. That's it for today. I think it's an interesting topic. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, give me a thumbs up. Thanks.